I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Compton.
Here.
Evelyn Baker. Here. Farrell. Here. Happy. Keller.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Mayor Bell.
Here. Okay, additions or amendments to the agenda? If we could move 7B up. Between three, right after 3. We can do that. Any other additions or amendments?
You use that, yeah, please. Keep
Yeah,
John
the fire
all
chief.
night.
Would you like to be moved up?
Okay.
Well, then he loves us. Okay. All right, so we'll just move 7B up.
I did notice this more of a typographical error. I put the wrong year for the minutes. Should be December 11th and December 13th, 2023. I got a little excited for the new year apparently.
Okay. Okay. I see that.
Yeah.
All right. Adoption of consent agenda with the amendments.
We have to vote of the,
Vote to approve the amended agenda. Roll call vote.
Do we have a motion?
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the amended agenda.
I second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton.
Aye.
Evelyn Baker.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. All right, now we have to move on to adoption of consent agenda. With the changes of the, not December 11th,
yes, yeah.
23, December 13th, 23.
A couple changes, is that after we second it?
Correct, yeah. There'll be this discussion.
Motion. We need a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of December 11th, 2023, the approval of minutes of December 13th, 2023, and the ratification of the bills in the amount of $485,695.22. I second.
Okay, discussion? Okay,
So on the December 11th, page 4, we have a CM Farrell said a resident asked if the town has a committee for hometown Christmas. That actually should be CM Farrell said a resident asked if the town has a committee that organizes events like the hometown Christmas. And then, other minutes for December 13th, I wasn't actually there, so my name needs to be removed off of, who was present.
okay. Any others?
I think.
It is excused.
Well, yeah, but it also says that I was there. Just,
Oh, yeah.
it's in both spots, so I was like, clone,
It can't be in both spots.
yeah.
Good job.
What you really want to.
Okay, we have a motion that's seconded with amendments. Marilyn, you have those amendments? Okay. Roll call vote?
Councilmember Compton.
Aye.
Evelyn Baker.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. Okay. We're going to move at Mount Hood Community College. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Come on up.
You can have access to the control.
Right. Welcome.
You. It's so easy to organize here.
Well, good evening. My name is Lisa Starry. I'm the president of the Knoxville Community College, and I want to thank you all for having us out tonight, and also thank you for rescheduling. I apologize for the last meeting having to cancel back in November. I think it was. So, it's- Anyway, I think this is the first time the three of us have been out here, and so appreciate that. So I'll start with some introductions. As I said, Lisa Starry, president of Knoxville Community College.
Hi, good evening, Andrew Spear. I'm the chair of the board and I've been on the board for 5 years now. And I'm an alumnus of the college and so it's a neat honor to come back to the college and be on the board and serve the community in that way. I grew up in Sandy and I love the community college model, and so this is really just the extension of like giving back to the community and just helping to give back to what I received from the college. So good to be with you tonight.
And can you repeat your position again?
I'm the board chair.
Great.
And good evening, my name is Annette Matson. I am elected from the folks in District 4, which is totally within the David Douglas School District in East Portland. I'm in my 7th year on the board. Like Andrew, I'm an alumni of Mountford Community College and started back there, back in the 90s when I was a 30-year-old working mom with 2 little girls and decided that it was time to go back to school. I also served on the David Douglas School Board for 18 years. Education is truly my passion because I know what a difference it makes in people's lives. To be able to get a good job and have a good ordinary life.
So I always like to start this off by asking, how many of you have ever taken a class at Mount Hood? Okay. And for those of you who didn't raise your hand, have you had a family member or friend that's taken a class at Mount Hood? So for anyone that hasn't raised their hand, have you ever swam in our pool or been to our pool? Those 3 questions I usually can get most hands raised. Part of it is because Mount Hood has been such a impact in this broader community, and so our district is about 950 square miles, but it's had a lot of impact and opportunities. We've been around since 1966, so we are heading towards our 60th year. Just a little bit about the college. We are about the 3rd largest community college in Oregon, and it depends on the area. When we look at students, we've got about 19,000 students that we serve annually. 18.5, we're actually enrollments are up, so we're quite happy about that. So that's the difference in the 500. I think one of the most rewarding things this year is there was an independent study that looked at community colleges, 158 community colleges across the country, and looked at affordability and quality of education. And out of those, Mountain Community College ranked number 4. And again, this was across the US, something we're quite proud of. This has been very important to the board members and the affordability piece and keeping quality. And so we're really pleased with that, and we are the highest ranked community college in Oregon. So we'd love to have that. Some highlights about the college. The college is equity minded, and part of this has to do with our student population. We're about 40% students of color. We also have this beautifully rich immigrant and refugee population that adds to that diversity. And as such, we have a lot of our programs that are supporting our students at all areas. We are student-centered, and we like to call ourselves the career college of the area. And so that's because 31% of our students are in some form of CTE programming. And that may not sound like a lot, but if you look at our sister institutions in the greater Portland area, we're more than double where they are. Some of this has to also do with our significant apprenticeship program. We serve about 6,000 apprentices annually through 25 of the different trade organizations. And so it's both in our district and also we serve out of the district.
And then career focus, we're really looking for quality jobs, family wage jobs for our students. One of the things that's new is we were one of the first 2 programs in the state approved to, colleges to offer a applied baccalaureate degree. So there will be a 4-year degree offered at Matthew Community College, and then we'll have our first graduating class in 2026. This will be in cybersecurity, which is a growing demand area. And the nice thing is most of this program will be online. So for people that maybe can't get into Gresham, it's a great opportunity, it's a great job, it's in high demand. And so for folks here, for example, will be a program they have access to. Also, you might have seen the big announcement last week of Microchip receiving Federal CHIPS Act. We're a strong partner with them and do a lot of both offering of electronic screening for their workforce, but also training and upskilling their incumbent workforce. So we received 2 Future in Oregon grants in support of that work. So that's a little bit of what's happening at the college, but these things don't just happen by chance. It takes planning, it takes strategic planning, foresight, thought, and sight, and that is where our board comes in because they set that direction for us. So I would like to turn it over now to.
Okay. What we want to talk about first of all is our strategic planning process that we went through. So our strategic plan involved a really robust community engagement process. We got feedback from community members, students, employees, partners, and stakeholders. And the goals of this process were to, first of all, make sure we had a transparent strategic plan process. And then to create a final product that was an expression of our values and who we really are as a college. And then, of course, develop an actionable plan with specific goals, and that would drive our planning, including our annual budgets. So it was a highly interactive and collaborative process. We had opportunities for input with interviews and focus groups, and we did surveys, and we did a half-day charrette. And the process collected honest and constructive feedback about issues and priorities related to Mount Hood. We want to make sure we heard voices from the broad spectrum of our community. So the surveys were offered in 7 different languages, and we held a focus group in Spanish and had translators available for our sessions. Community input came from focus groups within our school districts, elected officials, cities, our chambers of commerce, other entities like the Pacific Northwest Carpenters Institute, the Rosewood Initiative, and Programa El Español. These groups helped us develop a survey, and they shared our survey with their respective networks. Now, our new strategic plan addresses the needs of the changing student body and our district demographics. It responds to industry trends, and it supports our employees so they can support our students. So what we heard over this was a lot of great feedback, and we organized it into various themes. Now, in general, our students and staff feel safe at Mount Hood Community College, and they do feel the college is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Students ranked our academic programs, financial aid, and location as the college's top 3 strengths. While the availability of classes and technology were seen as our top 2 weaknesses. Now, keep in mind, this process took place during the pandemic, so things like internet access were a really top priority for people. We also heard from community leaders that the college's relationship with our K-12 leaders, our business leaders, and our political leaders was on the weak side. So from all the data collected, 8 key opportunities were identified for us. First, the built environment. It doesn't offer very many opportunities for social gatherings and for interaction. And coming out of COVID, people really wanted to connect with each other again. Second, our decision-making wasn't always seen as transparent. Our internal stakeholders want to understand how we make the decisions that further our goals. Third, it was sometimes hard to track student success, especially as it relates to better understanding what students need to be successful and particularly our students who are insecure in regard to their basic needs. Fourth, many students are unaware of the services available to help them succeed. We need to consistently get information out to our students about these services. Fifth, the pathways from K-12 to Mount Hood Community College and beyond are not clearly spelled out. And the college needed to work better to inform parents and our first-generation college students. Sixth, our business partnerships vary in strength. Some are really strong, especially in our career and technical education programs. Yet other businesses thought we could do better to relate to them and to identify and respond to their needs. Seventh, the needs of a highly diverse student body are not fully addressed, and the college should better leverage coordination between the college departments and services and our community-based organizations. And lastly, the community is not fully aware of what we have to offer. We need to do better at sharing what we're doing. The community is interested in being invited to our campus for events, and the community wants Mount Hood Community College to show up as an active partner. And this feedback gives clarity in what we need to do to improve.
So I'll be just covering the plan, and then the accountability around the plan. So, all the data we collected and the process we used to develop our plan was centered on equity. And you'll see up on the slide, the equity statement, vision, and mission statement. But those were our guiding lights as we thought about moving into the execution and the creation of the plan itself. Then to address the opportunities we heard, the college focused our work in the next 5 years to improve teaching and learning. So specific objectives include things like effective and inclusive teaching, improving assessment, and reducing overall course failure rate. Number 2, provide a full range of programs and services to help students reach their specific goals. Objectives include things like aligning programs in industry and community needs, assessing student needs, designing programs and services based on those needs. Number 3, aligning college's operations to address diversity of communities we serve. Specific objectives include things like using an equity lens in all decision-making, expanding our basic service needs support, and seeking sources of revenue to support student success. Number 4, provide facilities and technologies to serve all students. Objectives include things like strengthening online learning and improving student and employee-facing electronic systems, including the website. Number 5, increasing our visibility in the community and strengthening relationships with community partners. Objectives include things like authentically engaging with historically excluded and multilingual communities, expanding work-based learning, and partnering with local organizations to create a community hub to exchange and share resources. And so next we'll cover accountability. So over the next 4 years, or 4 years from now, when you think of Mount Hood Community College, we don't expect that you'll know what we've done to our website, how teaching is different, or what systems we've changed. But we want you to feel as if the college is an integral part of the community and a good investment of public resources. So to do this, the board has set indicators so that we can track our impact on community and hold ourselves accountable. Specifically, by 2027, we expect to see: number 1, improved student success for all students regardless of race, age, gender, or income. Specifically, our certificate and degree completion rates will increase to 53%. Our retention rates will increase to 75%. And 45% of students will complete at least 23 credits in their first year. Number 2, 80% of students will meet core learning objectives for all students regardless of race, age, gender, or income. Number 3, 70% of residents will say that MHCC is a good steward of taxpayer dollars. Number 4, 30% of our high school students from our district will attend Mount Hood Community College after graduation. Number 5, employee diversity will reflect our district diversity within 5 percentage points. 6, student diversity will exceed our district diversity by 5 percentage points, because if we are successful in achieving our commitment to access and equity, our diverse communities will find the college is a place they can succeed. And next, I'll turn over to Lisa.
So that was just a really quick overview of what we did. We've included links and a QR code, and I actually have got two two hard copies. One is our strategic plan, because a lot of it we went over in more detail. The other, as part of it, we did a comprehensive environmental scan. So this has a lot of demographic information about our entire district. Some of the figures from your area are included in here. So I'll leave those if you want to look a little bit more. But we are excited. We're about to release our annual update. Andrew mentioned the accountability measures. Every year, we're going to be reporting on how we're doing. And where we've had success and maybe some areas we're working on. But that is our plan. And so we appreciate the opportunity to share it with you, and then want to open it up and see if you have any questions that we can answer.
Councilmember Baker.
Hi, thank you for being here, and I understand that Cascade Locks is in the district of Mount Hood Community College, which honestly doesn't make sense to me. It's way further in Hood River County. Hood River Community College has a campus in Hood River. So are you doing any tracking of Cascade Locks students? Are you sending any targeted information to Cascade Locks families? And does this districting, and I apologize for not having done my research, go all the way to Wood River? No, or just?
So this
Right.
is, yes, so we have an interesting relationship with the school districts in that when Cascade Locks had a school district, that's how we ended up in Mount Hood service area. When the merger happened with Hood River School District is in Columbia Gorges District.
Right.
And so, based on some guidelines and whatnot, they're the primary communicators with the families in the school district. And so I've worked closely with their president on, what we do and how we do it, but that's been part of, I think, the challenge in serving you, but then also realizing that at least with high school students, it comes from Columbia Gorge. But yes, I agree.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yes.
We're all perplexed on that.
Yes, and yeah.
It's sort of like being in David Douglas and Park Rose, and we are part of the city of Portland due to annexation, but not part of PPS, but we have the connection with Mountain Community College, because
Right.
historically, not quite as strange as, this one is different. History. And people do lines on maps.
And it's been like 40 years since I attended, or 40 years, 41 years. But I have a question. They used to have a really good nursing program. Do you guys still have a nursing? You do. I did not
Yes.
know that.
We have nursing, we also in the health professions, we have dental hygienist, surgical tech, respiratory therapist, medical assistant, physical therapy assistant, funeral science, phlebotomy, and so there's like a whole range, and we're, also our CNA program now has, preferential points to getting into our nursing program. So we try to do that ladder into nursing.
I know nursing's a big need.
And I'm a professor for CSUN education right now, and I taught at Oregon Trail School District, so I'm quite familiar with Mount Hood Community College. And my question is, are we getting any catalogs or anything to share our targeted? I understand it wouldn't help to send it to everybody unless they were community classes, but we are small enough that our graduating senior class, Councilman Keller, how many Cascade Lock-ins graduate a year, I think?
High teens.
High teens, only about 20 families would be, and so if you took, 8, 9, or 9, 10, 11, 12, 80 families. In order to maintain a healthy relationship as we are district with you, it seems that the community being aware of the wide range of your programs and pathways, that would help, because we do get the catalogs, the Columbia Gorge catalogs in the mailbox.
And our population is growing. We have how many new homes, 45 new homes.
Great.
Process where they're just clearing the land and putting in all the.
And it really is,
So we're growing.
the driving distance isn't that great. I mean, almost equivalent.
They're probably equal.
Yeah. So, so really, I think, and when you mentioned the swimming pool, do our families even know what's available to them? I don't know that many people know we are affiliated or in the district.
Councilman Carroll?
I don't know how it's done right now with the school. Now we don't have the high school, but my son went to the high school here and he got a scholarship through you guys. So I know that it was being advertised with the students at that time, but I'm not sure how it's done now. And I just have a friend who just completed the nursing program, so thank you.
And I will do a plug, our foundation is amazing. In fact, this year, I think they're over $800,000 in scholarships that are awarded. So, if you know of kids in the area that are looking to go to college, have them check out our scholarships. There's a lot of them. We have some that go unawarded.
I had a question about, there's individuals in Cascade Locks that did not graduate high school, and they'd like to get a GED. Is there possible to have satellite programs out here for individuals that would like to get their GED? Because that could be, I think, a barrier for them to complete it if they have to go to the college, but I didn't know if anything is online or somehow we could support those individuals to get a GED.
Let me look into that and find out what
Okay.
some options could be for, because I'm sure this isn't the only area where we have.
Right.
this,
Right.
So that would be good to know where.
Right.
Do you also have a need for ESL in the area?
Denise can.
We might, it hasn't been hugely apparent yet. My other question is, if we're in your district, does that also include, community classes?
Community.
And so I suppose anybody could take, somebody from Portland could come, but this idea of satellite, satellite classes, we have a big building there. If you've ever thought about that, how many folks would it take to make it feasible? I know some folks that would like dance classes. Yes. Because we are severely lacking in community services here.
So we're looking for more opportunities for constituents that have the opportunity to further education or the education and dance classes or, yeah. I think sometimes, we're not that far from you, but the gorge, that distance can be a barrier. Yeah.
Well, and as your community is growing too, if there's individuals that have skills, sometimes what we lack is the part-time instructors or the instructors to do it. So that could also be something that we could partner on if there's someone that moves in or that's here.
So you need like a professor or a high school teacher.
Community is a little bit, doesn't have the same requirements.
Right.
Who would you contact for that?
You can start with me.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds great. Any other questions or?
Comment, council's done. So I put the same plug in Dr. Larson's ear. I noticed one of the medical fields that mentioned was a paramedic school, which they do not have as well. And our fire chief believes our fire station would be a great home for a joint program for a paramedic school.
Well, the port property next to us.
Okay, the port Arthur. He is more than happy to host that. This is just a very surface level conversation, bugging somebody's ear.
And on that note, we have lots of land for sale, some of the cheapest electricity. If you wanna do a satellite campus, I heard, is it Columbia Gorge Community College or was looking at a brew science, maybe building a brew science. And I said, keep us in mind, but I think the river is advocating to put somewhere on their property, so. If you are looking, we have Native American fishery, a lot of Native American fish, connection here, as well as, what else was I thinking? Historical and so archaeological, and fish sciences, so any of those, if you're thinking, we need to add some of these things.
We have fisheries, we have fishery science program.
Right,
And I know we do work out here.
and you do some, so it'd be great to have that somehow advertised, I don't, even if it's just a seasonal flyer you sent to our community.
I think it's very interesting. I think before the pandemic, we kept hearing a higher and higher demand for online classes. And we got that figured out because we had to quickly. And now we're hearing that people want in person again. They want to gather together to learn.
Somehow there would be a combination,
Yeah.
maybe.
And coming to maybe having a booth at an event sometime, we do a September community picnic.
That might be a great opportunity. We have a community picnic once a year. The whole community is invited, and other agencies have come as well to be represented. And we can notify you when that date is and give you lots of advance notice. But it's a great way to reach quite a bit of the public. Last year we had about 200 people attend, so it's a good opportunity. The National Guard comes out, the sheriff, the health clinic, and so that might be something for you to. And you to get dinner and music too.
And maybe with a
Raffle, maybe we're gonna raffle puppies, so. All right, any other comments or questions or?
Yeah, what district is Cascade in?
Zone 1?
So the.
Diane Okay.
Yeah. Is that one?
Yes.
And she is, has said that she's in her 7th year. She has said she will not be running again. So remember, you're in our elected area. So, we need somebody from zone 1.
Okay.
And if there's any other questions, being put in contact, and let Jordan know when we get information. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for doing
I
that.
appreciate you coming out here and.
We might have a couple
It'll
of
be a little
restaurants
rainy on
still
your way
open.
back into town, but thank you very much for.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Parents of interested citizens. Everyone, this is Tiffany Pruitt.
Just a real short one, I don't even know if I need to sit down, but, something was added to the council package tonight that you guys got that's not in the online packet. It would just be nice if those things would be added on later online so that the rest of the citizens can see what it is.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Public hearing.
No public hearing.
Okay, action items, approved resolution 1496 strategic plan.
Okay. So in late winter, early spring 23, City Council hired the University Morgan Institute for policy research and engagement to create the city strategic plan. The first step was the creation of the Community Vision Steering Committee. The committee held meetings on the below dates, March 28th, April 11th, July 26th, and September 6th, 2023. The committee started by creating a survey for input. Hard and digital copies of the survey were available for input from the public for the month of April and during the community meeting in August. The committee also developed draft mission, vision, and values. The public open house was hosted at City Hall on May 6th to review the draft mission, vision, and values. UO staff compiled the results of the survey and the open house and created a first draft of the plan, including action items. The committee reviewed the plan and action items and provided additional feedback. A draft was sent out for public review in late September. Council did an initial review of the council, at the council meeting on October 23rd, 23. At the meeting, council requested a dedicated work session to review that draft. Council met on December 13th, 2023 to review the plan. Notes and changes were scribed by Administrator Bennett and worked with U of O staff to update their strategic plan. Presented today is the final draft after feedback from city staff, committee members, general public, and council.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve resolution 1496 and adopt the city of Cascade Block strategic plan.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion?
I just want to say I appreciate that we've gone over this several times and that we've made many adjustments that I looked through and felt that I saw were good.
Hang on, Councilman Miller, Miller, Hunter, and first.
I was just gonna say, I noticed that a lot of the things I had commented on, were changed, and I really appreciate that, it's a lot better. However, one of them, in reference to, it reads, return authority of setting fees and rates to city council, I won't be able to support that, so. That's all I got.
Councilmember Miller?
Yeah, there's a few things in here. I second, Councilmember Farrell's, feelings on, the fees and taxes. I couldn't support it with that either. There's also the rare program in it, which is under DR 1.4. The rare program pretty much commits the city to hiring an intern from the University of Oregon at a rate of $26,000 for about 8-9 months, plus supplying that person with a workstation and computer. And I do not believe that we can afford expenditures like that. And so, and also, I still did not like the lack of citizen participation in the steering committee. And I didn't like in, some wording in here, the limit, page 1. Limited staff capacity corresponding unequal application of the city's development and nuisance code make it very unfriendly in the business environment. This is kind of, the wording in here sounds like you're throwing the staff under the bus. I would recommend that be changed to limited staff capacity has created challenges in the application. Saying that they are unequal, the application is, I believe, wrong. So,
Councilman Miller, what page was this?
page 20 would be the third paragraph.
That, isn't that in community findings, so that's comments from the community.
And well, that's still in the plan here.
We have information.
I'm done, so.
Councilmember Baker?
Council, point of information, Councilman Miller, where are you talking about the rare intern? Is that under a goal? Because
Where is DR 1.4? Put the page down, so where the,
The first blue one.
Recommendation.
right, so it's just a recommendation, it's not committing us, and I think it's a fine recommendation. I brought up the idea of a rare intern last year, because even at that cost, is significantly less than hiring a planner or whatever we chose for them to do. And it is my understanding we had a rare intern in the past here, or rare interns that did. I have only received a glowing report from the rare interns that were here before. And again, it's just a goal. It's not telling us we have to do it. So I don't find issue with that.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, it's been moved to approve. It's been seconded. We have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker,
I,
Farrell.
No. This here, sorry.
Oh.
I
Can you raise your hand?
can, did we get?
Okay.
Councilmember Happy,
we can't hear you.
He's muted.
You're muted, Pete.
Aye.
Thank you.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. Strategic plan passes. Okay, on to. We did not, emergency communication procedures, Chief.
Wait, section.
Dave, sorry. Approve lobbyist quote. Thank you.
Okay, do a read the synopsis here really quick. At the December 11th, 23 council meeting, Administrator Bennett presented quotes for lobbying services. A motion for Melio Capital Consulting did not receive a second and the motion died. A motion for Building Innovations LLC was made and received a second. The motion failed due to lack of votes. The motion for Melio Capital Consulting was made again and received a second. Council then debated if the motion that died due to the lack of a second could be brought again. The motion withdrawn and council consensus to have Administrator Bennett ask City Attorney Cleveland if a motion that died could be brought back in the same meeting. City Attorney Cleveland stated there is no issue with the motion being brought back up after it previously died due to a lack of a second. Attached for review are all the quotes originally obtained by City Administrator Bennett for lobbying services during the 24 legislative session to secure funding for the McCord Creek electrical line relocation. Below is a list of the firms contacted. The list of the firms was provided by Jim McCauley, Legislative Director for League of Oregon Cities. And I guess any questions on how we got to this point?
No.
In the packet, also, you will see an additional quote, I think it was separate on your desk from CFN Advisors, I think is their name, advocates. Counselor Happy, and please correct me if I'm speaking incorrectly, reached out to CFM, asking about why their proposal was so much higher than everybody else's in a discussion about a long-term. I believe I added the email as well from CFM advocates. I also had a talk with Dan Marr from Marr Strategies, Marr Consulting, I don't remember his title or his company name, Strategies, about this lobbying effort. He did not provide or did not want to provide a quote for this go around, but did suggest that having one, even if it was for short term, gets us our foot in the door to build those relationships. And he is open to doing a long-term contract with the city and the port.
And he's currently contracted with the
He is currently contracted with the port, yes.
Is Councilman Happy, is he still available?
Right.
I'm here.
Councilmember Happy, would you like to, I know you're traveling and you're in an airport, so I don't know if you have limited time, but would you like to comment?
I can, if sure, if this is the appropriate time to do that, I'm happy to share. I guess my conversations that I had with CFM was specifically with Waylon. And so Waylon is the lobbyist who's really his experience is working with ODOT on transportation issues. So he's the one that put together this proposal. And I reached out to them because the question I had for him was because in the original proposal, they suggested that it would be better to wait till the 2025 budget season, to try to lobby for that $1 million appropriation. And what came up with council, last council meeting was the concern that if we already had secured a loan, would that make it less likely for us to be able to get funds? And so that was the question I put to them. If they're making that recommendation, that they see that as an issue. And the second question I had was, why was theirs so high? And what he explained to me was that when they wrote the bid for the 3-month contract for the short session, that was with the idea that it was going to require a lot of political capital to get it approved. A lot of, I think it would be very aggressive. He said we'd have to, use up a lot of political capital to get that approved. And he thought it was probably still unlikely. So his recommendation was that, waiting until 2025 made more sense. And he was recommending that begin with kind of middle of 2024 with interagency lobbying, which is something you can see in the printed one that we got from them on Friday. That's a little bit different from everybody else. So prior than going to the state and politicians seeking funding from the state, you would first just go straight to ODOT to see if we could get some funding from them. Why are they treating us differently than maybe other cities where they've had similar projects where they have paid for those utilities to be relocated? And I guess through my conversation with them, one of the other things that came up was that lobbyists, really, their goal is to generate enough revenue to come in to more than cover the cost of their services. So it's an investment that we're making. We've got a lot of projects that we really need some help with. We have an attorney that's on retainer. I guess I could wait on this until after we have a motion and we could get to some discussion, but that was just kind of explaining maybe that second proposal. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you.
Okay.
I move to hire for let me look at the proposed motion. Sorry, I motion to approve the quote from Tess Milio in the amount of, I think it was $2,500 a month. Look, $3,000 per month to provide lobbying services during the 2024 Oregon legislative session.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Looking at the bids that range from 3,000 to, I believe, 15,000 a month. Tess came in at the lower level. I have asked more folks from Salem recommendation positively or negatively, and I have heard somebody that didn't know that Tess and somebody who said highly recommended. Tess has worked for CFM in the past and wanted to go out on her own. And previously said that she has worked on projects with ODOT, I believe, Oregon Energy. I feel, as was mentioned by Council Happy, that we need some support in this legislative session. I've heard that from folks when I've been asking for recommendations. Even if CFM is correct that it might not, we might get even more if we wait or continue to lobby. I am of the mind, yes, it would be great if we could retain somebody for $5,000 a month with state and federal affiliations for 12 months a year, but I don't think we have that money right now to do 5,000 times 12. I would love to possibly have the same lobbyist as the port, but we don't have any numbers from him. Is that right?
I have rough numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, but it ranges, let's see, what is it, anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 a month, depending on what we're scope of work. Whether just state or state and federal or what kind of project it is, or if it's a joint agreement, so it's a pretty big range there.
And he would like it long-term,
Yes.
so 12 months a year.
Yeah.
And the reason then I am currently voting for Tess is we did not budget for this in our current budget. And yet, I think we would be financially irresponsible to spend $100,000 on something we didn't expect without doing our due diligence in getting a lobbyist. So we would be out $7,500, which I think we can budget for. I understand possibly 10,000 if, I don't think we go back to December because we haven't. Or 3 times, I'm sorry, yeah, about 10,000, 3 times 3. To see if this lobbyist can, as Councilmember Happy mentioned, bring in more money than it cost us. And that would give us a good experience. I don't know, I haven't with this council worked with a lobbyist to see how is it really helping? And then we might reconsider different bids for, in our new budget year, for a long-term. Particularly if we then are freed up of some funds that aren't being spent on ODOT. Personally, I think we need a lobbyist this term. Tess comes with good recommendation. I believe from what I'm hearing will work well with this legislative body and is in session every day in Salem, so she's not gonna miss anything. And it would be a good example. There's an ending to this. It's not a 12-month contract. That's why I would choose Tess.
And I see Tess Milio is on online. Tess, would you like to speak?
Hello. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi everyone. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I had friends in the room earlier, Jeffrey and Annette Matson, but I guess they have left. Well, yeah, so my name is Tess Milio and I'm the owner and lobbyist at Milio Capital Consulting. And you've seen my proposal. I'm so grateful for you guys all considering my bid to help Cascade Locks advocate in the halls of Salem. And I just wanted to I'm here to put a face to the name, and that's all I really wanted to do tonight. So good to see you.
Tess, I have a question for you. Can you talk a little, in your proposal, that you would consider an off-ramp should it become clear early that the project would not get funded?
Yeah, that was partially because of a conversation I had with your city administrator prior to putting in the proposal, just about how, there have been concerns that, you don't want to pay for something when you already know that you're absolutely not going to get your ask, right? So the idea there is bringing this ask forward to the legislature, starting to have some feeler conversations with some key folks who are going to make the decision and see how it goes. Probably that would take at least a month to, get those meetings set up, get all the materials ready and talk to those folks and then hear back. And then, if it really was not a feasible project for this session, at that point, we could probably just end our contract early. So that's what I'm offering.
Okay. Any questions for Tess? Tess, can you talk about any experience you have with ODOT or similar funding, similar challenges that what we're facing?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that I have worked with ODOT for many years. I'm close with their lobbyists down in Salem. And I, have worked for several cities asking for funding. So I, at one point, represented a coalition of different cities who were trying to get a small amount of money for Highway 99 West. We were unsuccessful in that session because that does happen, right? And it was a tough budget year. But then just last year, I helped secure basically a lot more EV funding it was millions of dollars from ODOT directly just by getting legislators to weigh in with them. So it was not a legislative decision, but it was actually the Oregon Transportation Commission that I was able to get millions of dollars more than they had planned on giving towards EV infrastructure. So really the chargers. So that was something that I just recently did. And that's just 2 projects. I mean, I've worked with ODOT on a lot more things. I'm remembering there was a right-of-way issue with the city of Eugene, things like that. So yes, have a lot of experience. Thank you.
Councilmember Crompton?
Hello, Gus. I was curious on if you've ever had any success in the short session, gaining the funding you're looking for, or has it been mostly from the normal session?
Yes, it is easier to get money in the traditional long session. That's because it is the 2-year budget cycle, and that's where they, are really looking at everything that they have. Whereas the short session is supposed to be more for fixes and emergencies. However, I believe that we can talk about your issue coming up too late for the 2-year budget cycle, and there's a reason for bringing it now. I have worked on this. I have gotten stuff in budgets in the short session, but I've also seen the short session not happen, right? I think it was in 2020, it all shut down when Republicans and Democrats couldn't agree, and there were walkouts. So and no bills passed that session. So even though, things were lined up in the budget, may not happen. So just, yes, I have had success. I also think it's very unclear what will happen without conversations.
Thank you.
Tess, can you talk a little bit about your, how your communication, how you communicate, how it's going?
You mean with legislators?
Yeah, updates, just if you were to be hired, how would your communication?
Updates
So-
with you? Oh, sorry. Updates with you all or updates with the legislators? Just questioning.
Updates with Jordan,
Oh.
our city administrator, just to kind of, how often are we gonna hear from you? It's like,
Sure. Well, because this is a short session and a really timely issue, he's gonna be hearing from me all the time. Probably multiple times a week, we'll be in communication, so he knows what's going on. But at least once a week. And then I really plan on, my firm is just me, so I'm able to make decisions that work for the client. And so really it would be about us figuring out what the best method of communication is for him and for you all, and just kind of then implementing that as we go forward. So, I expect either phone calls, emails, but we would be in touch very often because this is as you've heard from other firms, this would take a lot of work to get something passed in such a short amount of time.
Councilmember, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Were you invited to speak at this session by anybody on the council?
No, I did submit a form, but I submitted it, I think, late after the deadline, so no.
Okay. That's all I have. For that.
Any other questions? Councilmember Happy?
Yes, hi there, Tess. You and I spoke on the phone a few weeks ago. It was before Christmas. It feels like ages ago. It's good to see you this evening. Thank you for being here. And I just want to make sure I understand, because I thought that what I understood when we talked on the phone, that 2025 was definitely the better time to ask, and that's why we had the off ramp in there. That is still correct. We're just trying to test the waters a little bit with 2024, correct?
Yes.
And I guess my question is, could you see a situation where that could be detrimental and may, in fact, actually not just be, it could actually make it more difficult for us to get funding in 2025, if we're browbeating, and being aggressive in the off season?
I don't see that as a downside. In fact, I think that waiting could potentially be detrimental in that it didn't seem urgent enough for you all to go forward and ask them for this money when this issue came up. So, I think that if this is not the time and you're not successful, this is laying the groundwork then for the longer session. So I think it's worth it, especially just trying to feel out those initial conversations with those key folks.
Thank you. And I had a few other comments, if I may. Um,
Yes.
I originally was thinking that this is just the wrong time, to make this ask, and we don't have it in the budget. What you just said puts that, I guess, a little bit at ease for me to feel like we're not going to be shooting ourselves in the foot, and we could just be laying some groundwork for the future. I do believe we've got a lot of issues in the city that would benefit from having a lobbyist represent the city's interest in Salem and potentially in Washington, D.C. I know that's something that you don't necessarily offer, but I think that we've got our train quiet zone. That's a federal issue that we're going to need some support from, to get that through. The city of Cascade Locks is small compared to, the railroad. So it's difficult for us to get traction there. We've got Forest Lane. We have no bike lane there. There's no sidewalks. It's poorly lit. I think it's dangerous for pedestrians. We've got this, pedestrian bridge from downtown. It's this pie in the sky dream to get down to Marine Park. We've got a lot going on in our city that would really benefit from having a lobbyist helping us get funding to make those projects become a reality. We also have the strategic plan with all these ideas and dreams. We have an attorney that's on retainer. I think it makes sense for us to actually have a longer term relationship with a lobbyist. And I think that it's something we should be looking at when we're writing the next year's budget to see where we can get those funds to actually make that happen. But I guess I feel like we wouldn't necessarily be, I think it makes sense to do a test run in the off season and see whether or not this is something that's gonna, we're not getting a warm reception, then like Tess said, we're at least laying the groundwork, and then we can table it and maybe bring this back when it's a better time. And also after we've maybe considered a more longer term relationship with a lobbying firm.
Jordan, can you reiterate how this is gonna be paid or where the funds are coming from since it wasn't budgeted?
Yes, so this would come from contract services out of the electric department, 300,000 total, across the city proper and South Bank. That is generally meant for, any emergency repairs during winter. We used about 130 grand last budget year. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we've used less than 60 so far this year. And the most of that has been vegetation management. We have used Dennis Snyder, as well as paying for the rate study. We also have 30,000 committed from that line going towards McKed to help us with administering the EDA grant.
Councilor Keller?
I would like to echo, some of the thoughts that Mr. Happy had. This is roughly 1% of the budget for this project. And for us to spend 1% for the opportunity to provide extra funding and the relationships, I feel it's a necessary cost.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing that there are none, there has been a motion and a second motion, so now we've had discussion, we move to vote. Roll call vote?
Councilmember Crompton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. It passes.
Tess, I will get in contact with you tomorrow morning to get paperwork moving.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tess. Okay, now on to committee appointments. Got a few.
Okay, so I thought it'd be prudent to kind of break down, where we stand with our committees at the moment. We have 4 committees, the newly created charter review, tourism, budget, and architectural review. Of the 7 seats for charter review, all 7 are still open. Tourism, of the 7 seats, 3 of them are open, 2 of them from resignations last year, and 1 of them from a term that just expired. On December 31st. The budget committee is 14 seats, half of them are council, the other 7 are, community members. 4 of those expired at the end of this last calendar year, that's where those 4 came. Architectural review has 3 seats, it's had 1 vacancy on it since I've been here. They only meet once in a blue moon, when it's required, when a new structure is going up into downtown. To ensure it meets architectural standards. We received 3 applications for the charter review committee and 1 for the budget committee. Mary Ann Bump, Courtney Keelman, and Elizabeth Laurel Noggood for the charter review, and Tiffany Pruitt for the budget committee. I did run this past, city recorder Woosley. They can be appointed 1 by 1 or all in one motion.
Let's do 1 by 1. We'll just, how about if we go in order of the stack that we have?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So what if we don't get, 7 for the charter review?
We just have to get at least 4 to have it going. Not ideal, but we have to have at least 4 for a one.
Councilmember Miller?
I understand there's been 2 applications submitted after the deadline.
For the charter review? We actually got 3 or 4 between Friday and today, but they wasn't time to put them in the packet, so they'll be reviewed at the next council meeting.
Okay.
So I guess that brings up the other option, the council wants to wait till they have a chance to review all the applications.
I would rather review all the applications.
And are we going to keep it open then, if somebody else wants to?
Until all 7 are filled, yes, it will stay open.
I'd rather wait then too, till we have them all.
Okay.
And that's just
Hey,
for charter
Denise.
review or for the?
Councilmember Baker, hold on. Councilmember Keller.
I would like, first, it's Kyleman,
Oh, thank you.
and, I would like to respect the people that were respectful of the deadline, responsible, and got their applications in early, and we can review the rest, to fill the remaining vacancies.
I'm open to that.
I'm open as,
Councilmember Baker?
I'm open as well, and it's Noggety.
Noggy.
Nagadi. Okay.
Thank you.
At bare
Councilmember Compton.
minimum, I'd like to go up to the budget given the applications tonight.
Anybody can make a motion at any point, just go ahead, so. If you want to move the discussion along.
All right. So it gets down to, voting on these this evening, the ones that met the deadline, they're here now, and then we can still, next council meeting, look at the remainder in the packet, and then to fill those vacancies. Is that consensus, or?
I'm open actually to either way that this body generally wants.
You guys are kind of mixed. Which way would you like to go?
Well, let's honor the ones that have already submitted their applications and hear them now.
Agreed.
Is everybody in agreement? Consensus?
I just want to point out that Elizabeth Laurel Noggety is my sister, but I don't think that there is a financial ethical
Any conflicts?
conflict there.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move forward. Okay. All right, let's, in my packet, I have. How do you pronounce the world's last name again?
Nogety.
Noggy. All right. So Elizabeth Laurel Noggy, she is up for charter review committee. A motion to accept,
I motion to appoint Miss Nagadi, Nagadi, oh my gosh, to the charter review committee.
is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Councilmember Rowland?
My council member Denise described this as her sister. She also works for the court. And there could be a potential conflict there. I don't like this idea, especially a charter review committee and having a relative on that. That's just way too close and we're getting into a lot of nepotism here. So I would not be in favor of this.
Councilmember Kelly?
I would like to note that Mr. Blue served on this council and also was financially employed by the court.
Good point. Councilmember Baker?
And we do have somebody on the planning committee related to somebody on council. And I want to remind this board, this council, that a committee serves to investigate and recommend. We still have all the power to vote on anything. We're asking them to do some of the work to investigate and recommend, not to make any decisions. So it's the fact that somebody is related to me, again, this town is very small. I'm sure there have been examples in the past of relatives on a committee and on council and or court staff and or. So that if you look at Laurel's background, it's a giant amount of great experience and intellectual knowledge that she would bring to any kind of literature review, which the charter review is, and research.
Councilmember Miller?
Answering, Councilmember Keller, when Jeremiah was a city councilor, he recused himself from all dealings that involved the court.
Councilmember Keller?
What would the charter have to deal with any forms with the court? Okay. This seems redundant and wasteful of our time, like.
Okay, so in interest, there's been a motion, it's been seconded, we've had discussion, is there any other discussion? All right, roll call vote?
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
No,
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. So Laurel, not getting passes, so she will be on charter review committee. Okay, next one, is Courtney Keelman. Heilman. All right, Courtney Heilman. Is there a motion?
I motion to appoint Gordon Kyleman to the charter review committee.
I second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, hearing there's no discussion, let's go to roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker,
Aye.
Farrell,
Aye.
Happy,
Aye.
Keller,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Fallon.
Aye. Courtney Kyleman. Okay. Appointed charter review committee. Thank you, congratulations. All right, next one is Mary Ann Bump. She is for the charter review.
I motion to appoint Mary Ann Bump to the charter review committee.
I second.
Discussion? Discussion.
I'm noting that Marianne did not put her name under budget, but instead charter review, and I thought Marianne did a fine job on budget, but I don't see Marianne to see if that's
something she would rather do.
She still has 2 years on it. She's still on,
Oh, you're gonna be on 2 committees?
yeah, Bernard's on all of them. so.
Yeah. You couldn't get it.
Or close to.
Okay,
You
I
can't
didn't know that. Was
hold
in that.
two elected positions.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, hearing that there's no other discussion, roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker. Aye. Farrell. Aye. Happy.
Pete, you've been delayed and didn't catch it this time.
Aye.
Keller. Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. All right, Mary Ann's on task and she will be on the charter review. Okay, next one up, this is Tiffany Pruitt, she is for applying for the budget committee.
A motion to appoint Tiffany Pruitt to the budget committee.
Discussion? Hey, there's,
It was eye-opening last year, and thank you for your detailed, comments and work.
okay. So motion second, hearing that there isn't any other discussion, move to a roll call vote.
Councilmember Compton,
Aye.
Emily Baker.
Aye.
Farrell.
Aye.
Happy.
Aye.
Keller.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. Kathy, Tiffany Pruitt, welcome to the budget committee. Again. You're good at it. Okay, so now we're on to reports and presentations. Committee report.
No committee reports. And we will note that there is a meeting in the library right now. I'll offer that later.
So they should report next meeting.
The contract did state, they quarterly reports. I don't know when the next quarterly reports. I can ask.
All right, and not to move them on. So now we're on to emergency communications procedures. Now you're.
I did ask people to roll this into this quarterly report for the councils. It's covering multiple topics. The emergency communication procedures was the initial discussion.
It was. So in my staff report, it just starts out with year in review of 2023. We ran 425 calls. There was also a spreadsheet that I originally submitted to Jordan. And then today I got even more into the weeds and nerded out just a little bit on our responses. We came up with 77% of our calls last year were medical, 23% were fire. We did take one interfacility transfer from Hood River to a Portland area hospital. And then I have them broke down into months and number of calls per month. By far, July was our busiest month last year. And then I broke it into areas that we respond. Cascade blocks includes the city as well as our area on I-84 that's within Hood River County, within our ambulance service area. So don't think that 297 calls happen just in the city. It's in that stretch of freeway and the city. Skamania County's, obviously, all of Skamania County that we respond to. Hood River County is from milepost 56. Yes. And that's moving over fires with our ambulance or covering mutual aid medical calls if somebody's unavailable, if Hood River's unavailable. Then Multnomah County is our contracted area within Multnomah County, which is Multnomah Falls to the county line. And then Wasco County is responding to mutual aid calls out there. The 3 in April were actually move ups, was one move up with an ambulance to help them out when they were really low in Hood River and Parkdale could not staff an ambulance to go. And we had one staffed as well as a backup staff here in the city. And while we were there, we picked up 2 medical calls. And then the other 3 in Wasco County were wildland fires. So it's really broke down into medical and fire.
But within medical, you have trail rescues, you have motor vehicle collisions, heart attacks, all the medical and trauma stuff are in there. In fire, you have wildland fire, structure fires, lift assist, fire alarm activations, anything that's not medical is all in there. So it was really interesting for me to dive into this data and figure out where we're spending most of our time and what we're spending it on. And then I really got into our ambulance transports this year. We had 153 transports in the year of 2023. We went to 11 different hospitals. And then kind of some historical data, in 2021, we had 127 transports. And then 2022 was a weird anomaly, we had 172 transports. That was right after COVID, and our call volume went up in 2022. Just with everybody
Back on the road.
back on the road, back doing things. We really spiked in 2022. So it'll be interesting to see how 2024 shakes out and what the numbers are. Any questions about what we responded to, where it was, any of that data?
I have a question. Now, the Cascade locks calls are obviously calls originating here. Do you have a breakdown of the calls in Cascade locks that are for non-residents?
I have actually asked our billing provider to give me that information if they can, based on the number of transports, who is actually using the service the most. But like a total granular one that if we didn't transport, then I probably don't have that data because we don't track that, but on the transports, we definitely track that whether resident or non-resident, and that affects their bill. So I'm waiting for the billing company to get back to me. I tried to decipher some of their reports and was unsuccessful, so I reached out today, because I knew that question was coming up. And as soon as I get that answer, I will forward it to Jordan, for you.
If this continues, like with July being the highest, this year that we're in, how did you handle that? Do we need to make any changes to be better prepared for that high number of calls, or did we do okay?
I think we did okay, and that kind of leads into the next, bullet point is our seasonal staffing grant from the state fire marshal's office. That drastically helped our situation, adding, those two full-time seasonal positions and puts an extra person at the station for 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. And on Tuesdays, there's two extra people there, so there's 4 people on duty on Tuesdays. And Tuesdays was the day we picked because it's also our drill night, to allow them to attend our drills and really get in to meet all the volunteers and interact with them. But I'm hoping that the state fire marshal continues that grant program, and we are going to apply for it again this year, if they do. This year, they really focused on the hydrant system and going out and making sure all of the hydrants were in inventory, that they were all greased, that they got weed eated at least once. And they took notes of what that hydrant needs going forward, whether it needs painting or snow flag. And so we're gonna start working on budgeting and paint and that sort of stuff for them to do this year. So we can keep our hydrants looking good and accessible.
The snow is coming, so
They all had flags. Some of the flags were, a little wonky, but, as money, becomes available, we can replace those with, flags that aren't as old and beat up.
Also, what was so different about October? October was the second highest month of the year.
That is a great question. I think it was a very mild October. There wasn't much weather-wise to really drive down our numbers. And so people were out doing things still. September's always been kind of a little weird anomaly. Sometimes it's really high, sometimes it's really low. But yeah, October was a little weird. I didn't exactly go back through like the reports and kind of figure out what type of calls happened in October. But yeah, it was a little funky.
Thank you for chasing down that grant again, if it's available, and
The last kind of paragraph, talking about pushing out information. It's a very tricky and hard thing to do. Myself, one of our firefighter paramedics, and another, person are the three people that have access to utilize Cascade Lots Fire and EMS, Facebook page. And if we're all on the incident and busy, we don't exactly have a lot of time to push out that information. How I look at information, if it's going to impact the community and there's gonna be evacuation notices, that kind of stuff, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing, I'm gonna post, I'm gonna try to get that word out as soon as possible. If the incident is blocking a major escape route from the town, I'm gonna push that information out as soon as possible. If it's an incident that is fairly visible, but is not gonna impact the community in any way, or is not blocking any sort of major escape route, I'm gonna get to it when I can get to it. It's not that we're trying to withhold information, and depending on where it's at, I may be on one or two or three different radios trying to coordinate a response. I have looked into, apps that do it. The most prevalent one in the Northwest is Pulse Point, which sends out an alert to people who have the app, who follow said agency, that they're responding to a call. It doesn't necessarily give any updates like, oh, evacuation notices. It's just, there's a call in this area, so people are aware. And for a year, for our size, it's $18,000, which is way too expensive. So I'm always open to new ideas and how we can push out information, faster, quicker, accurate is the big thing. So just know that I work very hard to make posts on incidents that greatly impact our community.
Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, you touched base on best practices, but I know we live in a very small community. A lot of people have your phone number.
Yeah.
And there was a fire incident where there were citizens in the community that were texting him, and he is on a big fire. He's not going to post on Facebook. That's not what he's thinking. So because we all know everybody, people have our phone numbers, so maybe, I know people were texting me and I said, keep an eye on your Facebook page, you'll make a post as soon as you know. So try to mitigate and lessen calls to you. So is there any other best practices that you would like to see?
No, I mean,
Just refer to your Facebook page.
refer to our Facebook page, it's really our best avenue right now, is our Facebook page. I know zero about Twitter, or Instagram. I do have a personal Instagram, but I really don't know how to use it. So Facebook is kind of our platform right now to post out information, and we try very hard to post as soon as we can. Just know that if it's a fire and it's a real fire, as the incident commander, I'm talking on our dispatch channel with our dispatch center, on a TAC channel with my staff and volunteers, and I got other responding agencies talking to me on both channels. So it's very confusing, to say the least, just in our county. And if we're in Multnomah County, I'm talking to Portland Dispatch, Hood River Dispatch, my staff, and they're all on different radio frequencies. So I have a lot going on in a short little time. And I always try to post as much as possible, but it is a challenge. we're not fortunate enough to have a PIO that's dedicated to do that. And even if we could afford one, they're still not gonna be at every incident because we can't predict our emergencies.
Councilmember Baker.
Thank you. I was wondering if you're comfortable or if you thought it would be good for the city to put on their webpage, or you just that quick reassurance. If there's an emergency and it impacts the community, we'll let you know. Otherwise, do not text or call. Please, just look at our webpage, something like that.
Yeah, I can, make a Facebook post about that,
Posted on our city website.
and then
Best practices.
the city can
Yeah.
repost it on theirs.
Snow coming and people thinking things are an emergency too, maybe that's a good time. And I mean, I've been, because my husband's a volunteer fireman and has been at other places. I've seen a volunteer PIO, but it takes a long time to get someone you trust, I know that.
Yes.
And that's willing to show up.
It was interesting to watch the Facebook post on the last fire, and all said it was it was spreading to the forest and everything, and I knew it wasn't, but I just kept saying, wait for the post, there's updates, it's gonna be okay. And, I just said, I kept referring it back to your Facebook. And then your Facebook, you guys share that on all the other platforms too?
So I try to, yes.
Okay.
I try to share it to all the Cascade Locks community pages, but if we're on an active incident and it's hey, this is gonna happen, like, it's just gonna be on our Facebook page. I'm not gonna have the time to share it to the umpteen different Cascade
So-
Locks fire.
Right,
Or Cascade
right.
Locks pages,
Right.
they seem to be multiplying relatively quickly. So
Okay.
I try to post to all those other Cascade Locks pages, especially if it's like an announcement, like, hey, we're having an open house. But if it's like, hey, an incident is happening, like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna post on mine and hope that somebody shares it to those other ones,
Okay,
because I have a lot going on.
right. Councilmember Baker.
I presume if it's an emergency that impacts the community, is there a chain that information goes to our city administrator or our mayor, or,
I call the city administrator.
okay,
Yes.
so he can maybe disseminate some information.
John's job is to respond to an incident, my job is to make sure the word gets out. If it's an incident in coordination with county emergency services, at some point they would take over, or the state, depending on the size of the incident.
Do you ever share to the social media platforms too? So that he's busy, he calls you, you do the thing, or is that?
I have access to, but I know how.
Kathy usually do it one time.
Yes, yeah.
And usually the social media platforms pick up yours and they automatically share it.
Yeah. It seems like as soon as I share something on Facebook, KATU, KGW, they're all emailing me very quickly.
You're getting bombarded,
Yeah.
turning an incident. I did have a question for you on, some of the fire hydrants for the new construction.
Mhm.
They have the meters left on them,
Mhm.
and one of them, it's right on Windsong.
Yep.
On it, and they can't get their car in and out because of the meter that's sticking out like this far. So I said I would bring it up to you and see if you could take a
We were
look at it.
there this summer, and when the hose was there, they were having issues doing that.
Mhm.
I took up some of our old hose ramps, so they could drive over the hose. But I wasn't aware that the meter was an issue. The meters and that stuff is more of a public works thing,
Mhm.
than a fire department thing.
Okay.
If
Do they
we
need
get
to
a
be
call
on?
and need to access that hydrant, we'll just spin that meter off. And set it to the side, so.
Is that something the city, we just keep the meters on and?
No, I think they're there for the duration of the project in case they need water. Yeah, and then we read that meter and we charge them for the water they use.
Oh, okay. It sounds like they only used it during the summer to keep the dust down.
Yeah, not using it now.
Right. So, and I'll get with you and see if it needs to stay on till summer again. It's not that big, pretty big. Well, it's, I'll show you on the map. You have to go take a look.
I'll log out there tomorrow.
And back to the responses, we did have one call this year in our city that Skamania came and transported for us, because we were on another incident. So. Which is
Just one?
just one.
That's impressive. Really good job.
Any other questions?
I mean, we went to them more than they came to us, so that's a plus.
Yep.
Thank you again for all you do. As the staff, feeling happy with I thought there was some change of hours or?
Yes, I like the 48-hour shift.
I can't remember the incident, but we got hoses destroyed in some fire and you needed to get them replaced and you were going to look to see if there was a grant or anything. Did we all get that all figured out?
The wildland hoses that got destroyed on a fire were replaced by Oregon Department of Forestry. So
Nice.
it was their fire.
Herman Creek.
Yeah.
Any others? Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do and thank you for your report. Thank you for staying. That's good information. Go to council procedures review.
Okay, so next on the agenda are review, discussion of both the council procedures and finance policy. First is council procedures. It's customary to review the policies at the beginning of each calendar year. The council did review and adopt updated council procedures at the October 9th council with resolution 1493. Given the recent review and update, staff have no recommendations to council procedures. This is a discussion period allowing individual councilors to bring up and discuss specific portions of the procedures for the procedures as a whole. I did receive some emails from council members. Councilor Keller mentioned a social media policy. My apologies for not being back to you, Councilor, on that. I wasn't quite sure if you were talking about, I guess, exactly how you were thinking that implemented.
Sorry, I don't know where it is in that copy. Council members should not criticize other council members or staff for acting on a decision with the council member does not agree. There's just a couple of these incidences that it seems as though they're published on various social media platforms and not held to an ethics standard.
Councilman Keller, can you tell me what page you're on?
I'm on page 6.
Thank you.
Discussion and decision making.
5.3A. Yep. That's something I had highlighted as well. Council members should not criticize other council members or staff for acting on a decision which the council member does not agree. So the council members may, however, point out how their individual opinion differs from the majority. So I think, in just looking over the last year, I can see where some council have on social media did criticize others.
I agree with you. I want to point out section 5 is council discussion at public meetings. And I think, our city attorney would, and I'm not gonna speak for him, but I thought we did maybe pose a question before to the attorney, and I could be wrong, that there still is the First Amendment freedom of speech. While I do not appreciate negative things on social media, I don't know that our documents can cover that. it's more of a decorum and ethics modeling to the community that we would hope to stand for, but I don't know that it is in, I don't think it violates section 5, council decorum at public meetings. Unless you consider social media a public meeting, I don't know.
I guess I want to echo and when you do not have the freedom of speech to say anything that you wish as you hold this position. Freedom of speech is limited, and I would have to do some research to find out the proper law term that explains this process, but we cannot say whatever it is that we want to say.
Councilman member.
Like remember, this is, in this 5.3, council members should not criticize. It doesn't say shall not. Big difference.
So I think maybe that's part of the challenge in looking at this. I mean, there's several areas where it could be underinterpreted, so that's something that we should all look at and change those wordings, if that's what council's wishes is. So, to move forward, and even give an example, when Mayor Walker died, it said in the event the mayor is not able to, then the council president steps up, but then there's somewhere else in here that says the council can decide. And so that's when council decided to bring Mayor Tom back and overrode this because it was under interpretation. So I think there's several different areas in here where it can be held to interpretation, which Councilmember Miller brought up with just a simple wording. So maybe it's something that council would like to really look at in depth. Councilmember Baker?
I agree, and if we look ahead at 7.2 or section 7, council relations and communications. 7.2 says council relations with one another in public meetings. Despite the diversity, we've chosen to serve in public office to preserve and protect and prevent present the present and future of the community. Show how individuals with disparate points can find common ground and seek compromise designed to benefit the whole, and it goes on further in 7.3 and section 8 to talk about the decorum that I think we're hoping for. Council in 8.1, council members are encouraged to conduct themselves so as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and to set an example of good ethical conduct for citizens of the community. And I could see we must constantly bear in mind these responsibilities.
So it goes back to wording. So
Right.
encouraged to conduct, it doesn't say it must, you must.
I do think that this council has maybe gone through some growing pains because it is my understanding from League of Oregon Cities that some councils have a session on what our procedures mean, how to work together and sort of work this out at the beginning of the year in a council procedural session. I like a lot of the language in here and I understand some of it. I think it, since we haven't had that work session or procedural session, that maybe we didn't all read it similarly or follow it similarly.
Councilmember Compton?
On Mr. Keller's point, I think 7.3 section G where it states all outside communications that represent council members' individual interests and opinions in opposition to the council's position must clearly indicate that the communication is not representative of the council's position and is the council member's personal opinion. I think that's where things fall under like that criticism, like on social media and stuff, because it's a outside communication between constituents. And it just needs to, you're allowed to do things, you just have to make sure that it's painfully clear that it is your opinion and not that you're not the council's or even you're like you as a council member, like you as a private person's opinion, because as a council member, you're bound by other ethical and other restraints, but not as a private person. Just have to, I think, just need to be, because it's already written here, we just need to be more obvious when making. And I wouldn't be opposed to in the future looking at making an entire like section about how to deal with social media appropriately, because in like the internet and like other forms of that kind of communication, electronic communication, because like a lot of these are good in like theory, but with the way that information is transfer and gathering has changed, even in like the past couple of years, it's.
This has been a hot topic at, like the OMA, Oregon Mayor's Association Conference, the LOC conference. It's been a real hot topic, and I know, some cities, they have a lot of good information on social media, and it's maybe something that we could look at to like a little bit more in depth. And then maybe change some of the wording, so, because as the thing I've learned in the, lots of things in conferences, but the thing I've learned, a lot of people want to go back to say, they want to go down a soapbox and say what they feel because they said it's freedom of speech. However, as a public elected official, it's a little different. So you have to be really careful as an elected official to just get on your soapbox and say how you feel. So you're held to different standards. So I think maybe, it sounds like this is something that we need maybe a little bit more in depth, change some wording and have a work session on it. It's an important piece. I know this piece has been referred to, I can't count how many times over the last 3 years. So it is, I think it might benefit if council chooses to take some time and we can schedule a time. Everyone could go over it with a fine tooth comb and then we can all figure this out and come to an agreement. Councilmember Baker?
Just a point of information, and Marilyn might help me get the number of pages. We have about 180-page council procedure document on our web page. That appears to be scanned documents. There is a section on social media on that, and I don't know, I think it's called the council packet, right?
Yeah, you all got one.
Right.
At the beginning of your.
So we have that as well, and we might want to look at that. I'm not sure
Revisit it.
how that is so, and there's a huge section on ethics, mostly financial ethics in that packet as well. And it's available online too, if you click it. It would be great if it was searchable. Like we could look for a word. But nonetheless, you can scan through and you'll find the social media section too, to look at what's already there. Yeah, I don't think I'll carry that.
So how does council feel about having a work session? Are you good with it the way it sits right now, or? What are your thoughts on it?
I need to read the portion
I think
that Lee's just talked about.
I think that at the moment, we're probably, like, there's more important things that deserve our attention. in work sessions and other things, but we should definitely plan on a less full, our schedule's not as busy with things, revisiting something like this, putting it on a list of our back burner, right, things that we need to deal with, because I know that we have council goals and plan coming up and what we want to do and making sure that we are actively doing those and not just every new thing that pops up
Right.
in a weekly thing, having something that's like, oh, this is good to talk about. But is it on our list of goals? No, then maybe we should push it to another time.
But if there was a time, that you go through it, you could send your concerns, like if it's, has to do with specific wording or something like that, you could send it to Jordan, that could streamline it.
Yes, I agree that we should have something like that and we can do that
Yes,
from now till whenever that time actually.
because I do think this is a really important piece that's referred to quite often. Councilmember Farrell, you had a question?
Well, two things. One, I think it would be a great thing to do, every 2 years with new council members. Okay, because I know it's very overwhelming when you first become a council
It is.
person, so, I think that would be a good time to do it every 2 years. And then I did email Jordan about that 2 to 3 meeting preliminary agenda on page 5 of 18. I think he printed out my email from all you guys, because I don't know what that means. That was the only thing that I found. So on page 5 of 18, under 4.2, agenda preparation, city administrator and mayor maintain a 2 to 3 meeting preliminary agenda. Does anyone know what that means?
I asked city recorder Woodley, who's been here 29 years, and she doesn't even know what the intent of that sentence is. The only thing we can think of is maybe to prevent these meetings where they're huge agendas. If we can table it to a meeting and even it out, that's the only thing I can think of. But
That's a good point.
That was the only thing I found. Oh, and then the, refer to, take out the manager on city manager.
and yeah, we can do that internally without having to revote on it. So,
Yeah, and those were the only 2 things I found.
So does that sound, oh, Councilmember Baker, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just, as I read it, I think it means an agenda into the future, like we can talk about this in February and this in March. Is that what you probably just said? Okay, thank you. I didn't-
And staff has
Right.
the whole year built out. Yeah.
On that note, how does the council get something on the agenda?
The city council,
The mayor puts it.
either the mayor does it or it's council consensus that it goes on the agenda.
And when would a councilor bring up something to seek council consensus at the final
At any time during this meeting.
closing comments or?
No, it can be anytime. I mean, you guys have done it throughout a meeting.
Okay.
Just have to be council consensus.
So did all council members have the opportunity to go through it and send Jordan any changes or concerns? So would you like the opportunity to be able to send him?
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds like council's gonna next couple of weeks
I
send
will
you.
compile a list.
Okay.
And prior to our next council meeting, when do we, or you don't give us a date that you'd like these by?
I don't. Like I said, it's not, as Councilor Compton said, it's not high on the list, but something we need to address at some point if council is concerned about it.
Trying not to, next couple of weeks, have an opportunity and Councilmember Farrell, you. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. All right, any other comments or anything about council procedures review? All right, now we're gonna go into finance policy review and, does Tiffany Pruitt?
He's the report first.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep, I got them before, and then, Mr. Skillman had a comment in the chat as well, he shared before he walked off, so I'll get to that as well.
okay.
So again, it's customary to review policies at the beginning of each calendar year. Council performed a brief review of the financial policy and staff recommendations at the October 9th council meeting. Council decided to wait until a clear current financial review was presented. Financial statements through October had been presented. Our contracted CFO has been focused on preparing materials for the 21-22 financial audit. Financial statements for November, December are planned to be available for review at the January 22nd meeting, and that is still on track. They will be available for the 22nd meeting. The discussion period, this discussion period will allow for individual council members to bring up and discuss specific portions or the public as a whole. So the draft changes by staff did not change since October. Section 5, increased staff expenditure limits that will not hinder day-to-day operations. That's 1,000 for department heads up to 10,000, 2,500 for city administrator up to 25,000. And these are all items that were within budget, materials, conduit wiring for electric department, buying new tires for the trucks. Council approval on all purchases over $25,000 outside of an approved formal contract. An example of that would be the wastewater project. We did contractor payments requests of $250,000, which is already approved through contract, through grant funding from the state. So not needing to get that approved again through council each individual time. Which we already do. I just want to put that in wording in the document. All purchase orders are required for all capital outlay, asset improvement purchases outside an approved formal contract. Again, wastewater plant is a capital improvement, but it was approved contract. 3 written bids will only be required for purchases over $25,000. Right now, I believe it's $2,500, which is not that much. Section 14, operating expenses over $25,000 will require 3 written bids. City administrator may request written bids under $25,000. Section 15, requirement to contract McCad increases from 10,000 to 100. Okay, council can approach this discussion in any way they see fit.
Okay, now it's Tiffany. Mrs. Pruitt.
Maybe that's so old, they call it. Okay, so, I have concerns, which I've expressed before. To me, basically, this is giving department heads $25,000 spending limit, because if you give city administrator the $25,000 spending limit, then the department heads go to the city councilor for something that's over $10,000. But under the $25,000, then, so you're basically just raising everybody's levels to $25,000. And to me, $25,000 should just be for emergencies and for not day-to-day operation. Not saying that there would be misuse of funds, but this is a small town with narrow cash budgets in the margin. It's been mentioned several times tonight in other discussions. When you give this much authority to the city administrator and the department heads, you're losing the control of how the money is being spent. I would, as a citizen, would prefer that the spending limits be, $2,500 to $5,000 for department heads, and maybe 5,000. I don't know. I'd be willing to go as far as 10,000 for the city administrator. And then in section 14, the council talks all the time about lightening the city administrator's load. To me, moving the McCad increase from $10,000 to $100,000, meaning that the city administrator will be responsible for anything up to $100,000 before turning that over to McCad. And there's with grants are so tedious and so minuscule in how that they can be handled and how the money is supposed to be spent. You have, by doing this, to me, it seems like you're gonna add a bigger load to the city administrator by having to meet grant deadlines and being specific on the wage rate amounts according to the Davis-Bacon Act. To me, it doesn't seem like a good idea because one tiny misstep can cost us a lot in the future, especially on grants. So I would ask that you reconsider that amount for the McKed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
And I have a comment for Mr. Shannon.
okay.
With safeguards, I would not object an official written city emergency declaration, procedures and policy established. One which explains everything before a cent is taken from the treasury, financial officer involvement, and sign off a public disclosure at the following council meeting along with public notice as required. I believe that may waste the concerns of the taxpayers or our taxpayers of our city. This council manages for us. It also safeguards against abuse. Thank you for your time.
Councilmember Happy.
No, he signed off at about 8:24.
Oh, thank you. Let's just check. Okay. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, for this, I do believe we had a work session about possibly, some of the expenditure and authorization levels previously. And you shared that some other cities were up to 25,000 or 15,000 or.
There are some that are up to $150,000 as long as it's approved in the budget.
Right, and I didn't know during that time if, the folks, the counselors at that work session had talked about maybe 15,000 per occurrence. I know that we had a truck breakdown or something that was, how much was it to repair the truck?
10,000.
10,000, so we needed it to be done quickly, so we didn't want to wait till a meeting, so I am for increasing the amount that the department heads and city administrator can authorize. And I'd love if you had those numbers from other cities again for us to understand. And if you felt that you wanted to explain the section on the grants, I too felt like, oh no, we're putting it on the city. What is the benefit of our administering grants up to $100,000?
At least from my point of view, I think actually less paperwork getting the CAD involved for these small grants. I mean, the DLC grant we just got for $45,000, any grant that small is minimal paper. I mean, when we talk about Bacon Davis wages, we're talking about multi-million-dollar grants from the federal government, not a $25,000 grant from the state tourism department. I mean,
So you're feeling that the workload wouldn't be
no,
increased
no,
to 100,000?
not to a point where it'd be detrimental.
And what is the benefit though? We're not giving money to McCann?
Yeah, why the decision in the first place? To
I
raise
just, that, the 10,000 seems low to me, to really even bother with bringing the cat into the grant.
Did I hear you say they're asking for more paperwork because of it, bringing them in? It causes you a lot more paperwork?
Yes, yeah, we end up paying the cat for the service.
So it costs money.
Yes, correct. Anytime they administer a grant, we pay for it.
Okay. And they don't have a policy that belonging to them, we have to let them administer grants up to.
But if you felt like there was a grant that you needed more expertise or.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it was like 80 now, under the 100,000, but if it was something that you felt like you needed more information, you could still.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So should we write that in the grant policy unless determined
Yeah, we can put that language in there.
that, that who determines, the city administrator determines that
Yeah, I would say,
assistance would be beneficial? I would like that caveat put in there.
Since we've started talking about these like caps on expenditures, have we? Has this department heads and city administrator like seen anything that was probably like under the 2,500 or more than the 2,500 that needed to happen now, but wasn't and didn't go before council because it needed to happen for a daily operation?
I know one on the top of my head, the most pressing one was the truck repair, that was a couple months ago, we had a rash of. lately.
Each tire for those things is a couple, like probably $1,000.
Yeah, or to get the set replaced, yeah.
Councilmember Miller?
But all those could be taken care of with an emergency clause and a notification to council at its next meeting without having to raise.
Well, because they have to ask us permission and then we have to approve it.
If they have an emergency like a truck breakdown to where they need it fixed right now, they can go ahead and order that. And then bring that to council for an approval. It's just an emergency clause for certain situations like that. You know, not day-to-day stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, like day-to-day operations, like, I feel 2,000 for day-to-day operations is way too small.
So for example, we're getting close to the point of needing to order a more conduit for the electric department. A single spool of conduit, conduit is $8,000. That is the material we need to operate our electric department. Do you, council want that brought to them at a meeting just so we can do our job?
Councilmember Keller, with your hand up first.
Just to like talk in terms of what $2,500 really is. When I was the head softball coach at Hood River Valley High School, I routinely wrote purchase orders in the $1,000 to $2,500 range just for softball equipment. Like protective netting, game balls, like, and to save on the work, you would put all of this into a single purchase order. Uniforms, sweatshirts, like just basic items within an athletic program, and like stuff costs a hell of money. We hear Chief Logan talk about how expensive fire equipment here is. Like he needs that opportunity to purchase these items. They're budgeted. We sit through a budget. We discuss each line item. It's there. We have questions about them. There are checks and balances put in place. We need to keep up with the cost of goods and wasting time here willy-nilly about various financial aspects in purchase orders.
Councilmember Miller, you had a question?
I lost some thought process
Okay.
there.
All right, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Councilman Keller. I am reminded of something at one of the conferences of LOC who said the number one way we can work with staff is to make their jobs easier and let them do their jobs. Instead of trying to control every little part of their jobs. And I know in our work session, you came up with reasons for these numbers and shared other cities' limits. And that's why they're not shocking to me. And even though at that time, some folks were talking about 15,000 instead of 25.
Councilmember Compton.
And also, the council's goal is to make policy not to make daily decisions. If we become the daily decision, like whether or not somebody purchases, then like, that's not the council's job. We should be making the policies that when a purchase that matters and might unbalance the budget, we make sure that those either happen or don't. and we can plan for them, not something that's not, like, if we're budgeting these things and they're within the department's budgets, we shouldn't be involving ourselves in the daily like activity. So I'm for increasing it. I don't know if 25,000 is the number we should go for, but like that, like we can raise it to everything to 10,000 and see if that causes any pains, and then that might be our news point for a while, and then if we get a bunch of things that are 15,000 and we're like, well, now we're doing this all the time, maybe we, at that point, increase it again. I know it's more false, like, we have to change it more times, but we also don't wanna change it to $100,000 and have a department accidentally spend all of their money that they have accidentally.
So from the October 9th work session, I was not in attendance to that, so these numbers were from that work session?
I believe so.
It was in a council meeting.
Oh, it was consent.
And we were going to wait until we got more caught up on our.
Yeah, at that time, I hadn't received any financial.
Have we gotten our audit yet?
Yeah. So working on it.
I too am for increasing them to at least 10,000 and possibly more. And I do like the idea of an emergency clause in case there's something even bigger than 10,000, like, I don't know, you would know what those kinds of things are. Such as,
Well, I mean, the biggest thing would be, you know, in the snowstorm this weekend, if power lines along, out at the South Bank right now, we call it in and it's $7,000, like, I gotta pay that. It's,
That's what it was, wasn't it?
I think
70,000,
that's the bigger one last year was $70,000, yeah.
like 4 days and 70 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also in favor of the emergency clause, don't get me wrong, we have to raise our bottom from the floor to somewhere at least at waist level.
and probably build in an emergency clause, so our city administrator isn't violating our policies. So he can spend that 70,000 to fix the down wires.
So would it be consensus to add an emergency clause?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay,
What about increasing?
and then what about the expenditure level from 1,000 to 10,000 department heads? That's good?
I don't have any problem with department heads, but the department heads we have now are very educated and know their departments, and they're not gonna like go take the money and short themselves on something else later in the year.
No.
I totally trust them.
And I'll be honest, I don't remember who said it now, but I'm gonna approve it. If they come with me with something that's $15,000, 99% of the time, I'm gonna probably approve it. I mean, they don't.
So what about the 2,500 to 25,000 for occurrence for city administrator?
I feel like, the numbers, we should probably put them in an action item and a motion, because right now we're in a discussion technically, and like having putting the numbers for an action item for an future date.
Yeah, this will be an action item to vote on with
Okay.
the updated draft. Yeah, we're just discussing. Yeah.
Just discussing.
Yes,
it is. So let's go back to the emergency clause, right? And to change from 1,000 to 10,000 per occurrence for department heads, everyone's good with that? Then should change from 2,500 to 2,500 per occurrence for city administrator.
The same thing, 2,500.
25,000, it's been a long day.
Jordan, if there's some concern about that amount, is 15,000 gonna cramp your ability too much?
No. There are some over that, but most purchases are under that.
Well, I would,
About 20. Would you be comfortable with 20?
And it's,
I mean, can you think of some examples where it would have hindered you?
the only real one I can think of is the electric department when we're ordering supplies. Which are items we've already budgeted for, but they're all expensive as heck.
Phone rifles is expensive.
Yes, yeah,
So what you're saying is 25,000 you're comfortable.
pretty much, like we put in the LED light bulbs, we bought a pallet of 50, and that was $16,000. There's a budgeted item in there to do, but it's $16,000.
and the check and balance is in our financial report, so we have a check and balance.
It's in the check register.
Okay. So is council okay with the 25,000?
And I'm okay.
So that's on budgeted items day to day, that's not like, and I don't mean any disrespect, but that's not like, oh, I want a new TV for my office, I'm going to.
Oh, correct, yeah.
You know what I mean? No, I know, but
No.
I'm just trying to clarify what the increase.
Right. I think the light bulbs is a good example. A pallet of light bulbs or however many.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
16,000.
Okay,
It was a council goal item and it was
right,
in that budget.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other, I mean, the changes are in red.
All non-budgeted items should come before council and be a council decision anyway, right?
Correct, yeah.
So yeah,
That's what I was trying to
we're just
clarify.
asking, this is more for like maybe we can add a clause in there where if it's a number above a certain amount that we get told about it.
Yeah.
Explicitly, if it's not buried in a receipt page.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to report any purchase over $5,000 or whatever number you want to set them.
And then the only other thing I did talk to Jordan about was, I know we going through the red, taking finance officer out. And we're not sure yet if we're going to have a finance officer, and it just seemed like, well, we're gonna red light it all out, and then perhaps we're gonna have to red light it all back in. I mean, I don't have a problem doing that, but it, I don't think we really need to do that now or not.
And that's why I did finance department.
That's hard,
Yeah, because we don't have a finance. officer.
yeah, I know they don't now, yeah.
Well, so it could.
So everyone's good with finance department for now.
Okay,
I know it's a little vague, it's not great.
all right. And that.
Well, then department heads have the authority in the department, so a finance officer would be probably the department head of the finance
Correct.
department.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it kind of consolidates itself.
That's all I saw.
All right, so to go over it once again, add an emergency clause. Everyone's okay with the 10,000 per occurrence for department heads? 25,000 per occurrence for city administrator. Then what was, there was one more.
We can,
Okay.
then you can ask for grants,
Yeah.
help if he wants to.
I would like in there to have like a notification clause of amounts more than. Yeah, 8,000.
10,000.
8,000, something high on a department head budget, but not. Like, we're not picking up every little thing they buy, but maybe like the things that are close or the things that hit their max budget on expenditure or like those kind of things, like.
How does council feel about extra notifications?
What does that mean? What does that look like? What is an
Well,
extra?
you get a report that just says, and like specifically,
We
the
spent,
department spent. On one expenditure, 8,500 on. On this item.
Would that be in the city administrator report?
Yeah, I was listed in my report, I don't, somebody said now, anything that requires going beyond the department head, but not quite to council's level. So that 10 to 25 range would just be listed in my report.
Thank you,
Yeah,
I like that.
it could be,
And second,
because like some of those big things, like if you're not pouring over the receipts page, you might miss them.
Okay,
And like some of those big ones, it would be nice to know what we spent a large amount of money on.
like a heads up.
Yeah,
Thank
it's just a heads up, it's not necessarily asking for permission, it's just
Okay.
telling us about the larger
Okay.
expenditures.
Should maybe a line item.
Is there any other,
There should be one.
is there any other, comments, questions? Council? Does that sound clear as mud, or is it clear?
Yeah, more progress than I thought we made, to be honest.
Okay, well, hallelujah,
Are you gonna address the McKenna thing?
we did.
I think we did.
We did.
Said okay.
We did.
Yeah.
Yep, we did.
We just added that.
Okay. We got through that. Okay. City Administrator Bennett report.
Okay, mine is a little long-winded this time around, given a half-year update on council goals for the year. So I can read it.
Appreciate it.
I can read it if council wants, or specific questions, I'm good with it.
This council, would they like them to read it, or?
It's long.
I read it. I
feel
read it
like-
all.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
It was very detailed. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Any questions, comments, Councilmember Baker?
Yes, so, under the staff retention and recruitment plan, I, did have discussion with City Administrator Bennett, and I did reach out to League of Oregon Cities about, could they help us, some of this work, job descriptions, internal pay equity, market analysis, and they said no, and I said, okay, let me share with you, because it's public information, what the HR answers estimate is, and they said, oh, we use HR answers, and it's very important that you do some non-biased internal and market analysis for equity and retention of your staff, and I asked if they could recommend any other further places that might budget, and they didn't know. Talked to City Administrator Bennett about checking with Hood River County Human Resources Department, since we are a part of Hood River County, if they could help us, but I don't know if you've had time. I don't know if McKed would help us do any of this. I just wondered if there's some organization we belong to that might also, can we get bids, I guess, is what
I have reached out to 2 other companies for quotes. I received one over the weekend. I don't remember what the total was. And then I have a meeting with another firm tomorrow. So I'm getting more quotes. But based off this amount, unless we get closer to the end of the budget, this is not happening until next budget cycle. So, I would love to get it done before, but it's probably not gonna happen.
But you're researching.
Yes, so I can build it into the budget.
And I appreciate your wisdom after speaking to LOC as well, that it does take a human resources specialist to make sure we are equitable. It reduces liability from employees and,
Which, to be fair, it scares the crap out of me.
yeah.
I,
Somebody with a human resources degree is recommended by LOC. So,
Then the Windsong Phase 2, the tour. I know you were gonna look into setting up a tour for council, right?
yeah, I totally spaced that one. I will.
Okay. I don't think we wanna do it in January
No, it's a little
or
nasty.
February,
Yeah.
so maybe March?
Yeah,
Is this,
by March, they really should be done with, roads should be put in, to the point where they're selling lots.
I know there, I walked out there last weekend on the upper lots for the 2 or 3 homes, I think it is, or
Yeah.
3 homes. There is some concern, they've got a rock retaining wall about like this, just the boulders, and then they've graded the dirt this way, and with the rain, you can see the big crevices, and so the mud is just washing over the rocks. and it's like a giant lake. They call it Lake Windsong. So it's a concern, the residents there had a concern about it, and I'm not a geotech or
Well,
anything
yeah, we
like
have,
that,
we have
but
our engineers and they have their geotech specialists, I mean,
Okay.
they do, I don't know if it's weekly, but they do site inspections.
Okay.
They sign off and approve everything.
Okay, it looks just shaky. I'm not an engineer, but I'm like, that doesn't look good.
They rely on their specialties, yeah.
Alright, so is there a way we can communicate to some of those homeowners that like they have all these concerns that yes, a geotech came out or whatever, engineer,
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna talk to them, or they can reach out to me.
okay, just
Yeah,
have them
yeah,
reach out to
that's-
you? Okay, they're the same ones with the fire hydrant, the meter
Yeah.
thing sticking out, so. Okay. I'll let you know who that is. All right, and I had the fire program, I just never talked to you.
Yeah, and I'll have to check that out tomorrow.
Okay. And then do you want to talk about the America's Phone Guys?
Yeah, so I got a quote, and to be honest, a little more expensive than I thought it would be. This would allow city council to have a phone system like we have for public works and, electric department. You would download, the go-to meeting app on your phone. They would call, any community member would call the number published. It would show up through your phone as a call through the app, not your regular phone program. And then you would call them back through that app as well, and it would just say City of Cascade Locks. So your personal phone numbers would not be out to share with the public.
And that would be $156 a month for all counselors and mayor.
Correct, yep, for all seven with a initial setup fee of $495.
It's considerably less than having individual phone lines. You know, a different.
Yes, so
An actual
paying
phone.
for itself, yes.
Right, I know the port, commissioners, they have a port cell phone, but they also received a grant to help get the cell phones and whatnot, we don't have a grant, so. I know it does present challenges to have when you're an elected official and to have your personal number out. And I know, Councilmember Happy, he's, off, but I know he has expressed concerns, over a few meetings about having some way for a phone system, so that's why we looked into it too. Okay.
Yeah, we can move this to another meeting for an official vote,
Okay,
but this is just for discussion.
okay.
And what budget would that come on?
Probably,
Electrical, no.
no.
Kidding. It's been a long day.
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure where it would fit best.
Okay,
It probably be administrative costs, but I'd have to see exactly which one.
okay. All right. Would council be open to further discussion on this and?
I don't know.
I don't find it necessary for me, but if someone else is having problems with it, and they can do it.
I mean, my thought on it is if the constituents would want this to happen, then I'm all for it, and if not, then I think the system as it is fine, but at the same time, I don't know what everybody, like, with the city of Cascade Locks constituents as a whole want to be able to call any of us and then have us return their call. Cause it would be a return call, it wouldn't be a,
I know there's a lot of cities and their elected officials use some type of phone system to where they get them off of using their personal phones.
no, I agree. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't wanna use my own phone number. And that, like, even better would be your own, like a completely separate phone in case somehow you
Yeah.
accidentally call somebody back with your own phone numbers and you don't have to change numbers, but that's a time kind of thing, but at the same time, I don't see a need unless the people wanna be able to talk to their elected officials a little easier, because I know emailing is one thing, and I'm granted really bad at looking at emails.
I'm not 100% sure how this would affect freedom of information requests and if your phone could be seized for that request. I'm not 100% sure.
Is there any data saved?
I don't know, that's why I think it'll all be through the cloud through GoToMeeting, but I'm not 100% sure.
Because freedom of information is about written and recorded things. Would a phone call fall under? I think the fact that you,
The call log.
the call log would, but not necessarily we would need to have every single conversation recorded.
Councilmember Baker?
Personally, I do find that any communication I do, would be email. I mean, my phone number's out there anyway, but I could see that the mayor could benefit from this. I don't know if there could be lesser, if other people
Well,
want.
there has been incidences where, there was a couple, members of the community who got a hold of my phone number, and they literally called me 18 times one
Right.
day. And I finally, I blocked them, then they got their friend's number, and they called me. And, I mean, it's times like that, I would rather not have it's my personal phone. So I'd rather not have my personal number.
That's why I think the mayor should have a separate city phone.
Right, and that's just one incident last year. There were a few.
Probably less than $150 a month or less. And any counselor who feels that that's a way they want to communicate. I don't know, or you're right, how do we find out from the constituents?
Chief Logan.
I may be the only city staff that really uses this app. So anything that goes through the app is also on my phone. So when I delete the app, if I delete the app, it's no longer on the phone. It's all saved on my desk phone. And so it rings my work phone through the app that says my desk phone is calling me. And I answer on to the app. And then when I call them back to the app, it says that it's coming from the fire station and not any phone, it's just that phone number. And if
Right,
anybody wants to look at the app, I have my phone with me and
okay,
you can take a look.
maybe.
I use it all the time.
So this is an app and not a phone, so wouldn't have to be paying for phones.
Right, so you pay for the app, you download it to your personal phone, and then whatever number is set up for you, it would ring the app on your phone. And not your
You
personal.
pay for
phone.
that app?
It's this app.
It's this app,
Yeah.
yes, budgeted.
So the council can move forward, could essentially have a virtual phone, you wouldn't have an actual like physical desk phone, it'd be in the cloud. And then the way you use it is the app on your personal phone.
Okay. Councilmember Keller?
The school district has a similar app, and we used it extensively during online school. And when just like Chief Logan said, if I used it to call a parent, it said it came from the high school, and it wasn't from my personal device. Secondly, I feel like I did a quick search, on grants. We can do a grant for this. I don't think we need to do an expenditure, and I would be willing to research and try and figure this out. This
Okay.
shouldn't come out of the budget.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on it? It's 9:35 almost.
I got one more thing in my
Okay.
reports, I did email about joint work sessions.
Yes.
The planning commission is good to meet this Thursday, the 11th at 7 for joint work session, and I got a text from Janice, the tourism committee, can't do the 16th, but they can do the 29th. So 3 weeks from today.
And from the weather app, it's gonna be nasty on Thursday here.
And Friday and Saturday.
And Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. We're down to like in the teens.
And
And with precipitation.
14 inches
So-
of snow.
Don't say
That's what it is.
that. Councilmember Keller?
Again, coming from an athletic experience, I would say don't ever cancel a meeting or anything until you have to. Like,
Okay,
plan on it going.
perfect.
If you need to cancel it, cancel it.
So The 29th, what time would that be? It's a Monday night,
6 P.M.
6 p.m., a joint work session. And are we, okay, then we do joint goal setting, or does this council think about goal setting first, or is, I don't know.
I guess this one's more kind of an introduction.
Okay,
And I think there's, maybe I'm wrong, seems to be confusion on roles and responsibilities between council and the committees. So make sure everybody's on the same page moving forward.
Okay.
But again, like you mentioned that, yes, council is ultimately in charge of setting priorities. But I want to make, I guess I want to make sure council and the committees are on the same page, and nobody's going to
right.
no road.
Can I just clarify, so it's 7 o'clock on Thursday, the 11th?
Yes.
And 6 o'clock on Monday, the 29th.
Correct, unless there's any major objection, I know.
Okay.
Council
Planning.
Compton probably can't be here at 6.
Planning on the
It'll
11th,
be taken.
right?
Yep.
And tourism,
Yes, both committees are good with those dates.
okay, perfect.
And we'll be in here, so if the weather's bad, will we try to Zoom some folks or let you know? if
Yeah,
they-
I mean, it'll be virtual, yeah, we'll have virtual access, yeah.
Just walk. Just walk.
I can come, yeah, I'm just thinking other folks.
The only
Walk.
the only person is gonna be an issue for us, waiting, so.
And you gotta do,
Continue. What about-
well, let's play it by ear and see how it goes otherwise. Okay, any other,
That's all I got.
okay, moving on to mayor and city council comments. Okay, Councilmember Miller, start off.
I did have my first said meeting. And, well, I spent most of it catching up on their procedures, and so we have an introductory meeting for myself. I didn't make the small cities meeting due to I was in too much pain with my sciatica. But I'd like to thank staff for all their hard work, and Dr. Scar and Chair Spear and Director Madsen for being here. And John, for your good report. Tiffany and Courtney for your appearances here. Thank you all for that. And that's it.
We're going in order.
You are going in order, we're going
Okay.
around.
I had asked our city administrator, about a topic that was in the minutes from December 11th. The paragraph that reads in the minutes, CM Baker said an individual on the budget committee had brought up the clarification of resolution 1487 and ordinance 457. She asked if that could be brought up to the attorney again. And it was my understanding that that has to be a consensus of council to
Correct.
do that. So I don't know if we wanted to continue with the consensus on that to, I mean, I don't think it would hurt to have the attorney take one more look at that, but, so I'm bringing that up. Does anyone have a need to have the attorney look at it some more, or?
Fine with that.
Well, the issue was why the public doesn't have access. to
Right.
that. That was the issue. That was what I brought up, was that I asked for a copy of that document and I was denied because client privilege, but we are the clients. That was what that issue is about.
Correct.
I don't see any reason one way or the other.
Well, when I brought it up, I was thinking of a clarification, but if the attorney claims it's client privilege, I don't want to challenge that. I don't know.
But it should be.
The attorney says client privilege. I don't wanna challenge him.
We'll leave it at that. Okay,
I'm the one paying it. I'm the client.
Yes.
Okay. What else comments?
I forgot what else I was gonna say. Well, I want to thank everyone for their presentations today. I learned some good stuff. And then I was just going to add, a personal note that I am taking Dry January to a new level and I'm off Facebook too. So you guys can you got my phone numbers and the city email, so you can reach me that way if something comes up. That's all I got.
I can throw a rock that far.
Councilmember Baker.
As usual, thank you to Mount Hope Community College. I'd like to understand more about our districting and maybe in this next, I'll look into that. Thank you to staff for all that you do. Thank you, Administrator Bennett, for your detailed reports and your flexibility in thinking as we modified the electrical work coming toward the port. And thank you everyone for our discussions about the lobbyist and hopefully we'll get some good benefit from that and learn how to work with this. I do want to point out in our procedures still, and I appreciate so much everything that the fire department is doing and your reports are fabulous. It is part of our procedures that every committee should give an oral written report at each meeting, and I love that, even if they said we didn't meet, and we're gonna do our goal setting next month. Just a quick thing to Mr. Bennett, so we knew what planning was doing and we knew what tourism was doing. It's in our documents currently, and I would love to continue to do that. Great, I'm so excited about our joint meetings, because I've been hoping for that for a year, so that planning and tourism and that's all we have right now. Our architectural review committee, I don't know that's, we have other committees that aren't full yet. And I did appreciate so much working with budget committee and even having that first meeting on how we're going to work together. And I thought that was really, really fabulous and instructional, and I hope we'll do that in these joint work sessions. I wanted to point out that it came up last time we met in December that we had a legal question that held up a vote. And it was basically just a question that none of us could answer at the moment. And I did call League of Oregon Cities about that issue. And they said it is appropriate to take a small recess or to have make a point of information, clarification. We don't know the answer, and have a staff member take 5 minutes to research it or attend recess. And I wondered, if we're paying our attorney a stipend, is it possible to ask him to be available, not here, not on Zoom, to be available during our twice-a-month council meetings? And I presume he keeps track of his time, right?
Yes.
For that stipend, and he might give us a suggestion. I know people who are on call often charge a minimum of half hour, minimum of 15 minutes or whatever. That if we could ask our attorney to possibly be on call during our sessions, during our council meetings as part of his stipend, and what would he charge, what would be the minimum? He may not know the answer off the top of his head, that would be the answer, and he'd charge us for 15 minutes. I don't know, I'm gonna need to research this for an hour or whatever. So that's one thing, if this council, is this something we need to vote on? Do we have consensus? We want to ask our attorney that question?
Yeah.
That'd be expense. I
Pardon?
mean, it's to ask someone to be, our meetings are, here we're at 10 o'clock, we would ask him to be available for 3
Well,
hours.
he could give us a time limit. I'm available between here and here, because our action items are usually earlier. Mostly, I felt that we postponed an important vote that could have cost us some legislative relationships due to not knowing an answer. All we can do is ask him, what would he charge? What would be the minimum he charged? Because if I had an attorney on stipend, I would want them available by phone call or text if, twice a month, if I had a meeting, I would say, hey, Joe, I need you here. Anyway, anybody else see any value in that?
I think it's such a rarity that it would be.
Okay, well, I would like us to consider that we can ask for point of clarification, point of information, take a recess and see if staff can answer a question to move ahead, 5-minute recess. And on that note, I have been looking up point of personal privilege is what we say, and League of Oregon Cities consultants said that we can say it shortly after any disparaging remark against our reputation or our person has been shared in this room by a fellow council member or someone in the audience, so we can, and the mayor would recognize us. And point of information or clarification, apparently we raise our hand when we are not understanding something that somebody has said, or we want to clarify the fact or the source of that information. You know, can you provide the fact where that came from? So that is 2 things, as well as thank you. A second, apparently, to second a motion doesn't mean you're going to vote for it or that you like it. It means it's open for discussion. And the person who seconded doesn't have to vote for that. The person who made the motion either usually votes for that or they withdraw it. And those were things that I wanted to point out from Robert's rules that I also conferred with League of Oregon Cities. And thank you. I do think I've learned a lot in this year. I hope you all have. I feel like we're becoming a cohesive council that with diverse opinions, and I like that. And on this issue of speaking with respect and decorum in and out of this room, I have been to enough conferences now that I know there's no amount of words we can write that will make that happen. It has to be an agreement, mutual respect, and our own self-regulation. And I know that some councils, when they have their work session, like you said, the biennial work session on how we're gonna work together, they actually sign an agreement that we are going to speak respectfully, even if we disagree. And sometimes it's posted, these rules of decorum for public speakers as well. I brought that up. So that's just something I hope that we'll all take to our heart in 2024, even as we have diverse opinion, that we speak respectfully of one another. So thank you.
A huge shout out to Chief Logan and his fire department. They are incredible stewards of our community and leaders within our community. Just as an FYI, the high school raised roughly $24,000. It's $24,000 and some change for the fish food bank during their Camp Food Drive. I don't know what was contributed locally, as a lot of the donations were anonymous, but it was an incredible display of support for those in need in our community.
Thank you. That's incredible. Councilmember Cousins?
I just want to thank everybody who came and gave reports and spoke. So they were good and informational, and your opinions are always valued. I had something I wanted to bring up to put on the agenda for, it's not important, but it's something I think we should think about. And it's something I did a little research on, not super in depth, but the city has no way of knowing or tracking what businesses reside in our city. We don't have a licensing at all or any kind of thing to even like know, no one, you can't ask like, hey, what businesses do we even have? Like, you can't ask the city, what businesses do you have here? I was thinking about making a blah, blah, blah business, and I wanted to see if I had any competition. We can't give that information because we don't have it. And I was thinking about making it as like a business licensing thing where we send out a notice to the public and then make it not expensive or really anything, because we're just wanting it more for informational gathering than for like actually like
So more like a database.
More like a database, like we can maybe do like a $5 fee
We can't do
We
that.
can't do it.
without asking. We can ask the public if they want a $5 fee for a licensing from
It would
businesses.
have to be,
Oh, I know, I'm not saying that, that's why I'm saying like this is a future other thing, like we can, as council right now, we can make it so that it's we can make it a requirement that they do it,
We could do an ordinance
yeah.
mandating it, yeah.
So that way we could find out who's doing business in commercial or residential areas when they're not supposed to.
Possibly,
Yeah.
or doing any kind of business, like, we didn't know, like, that there was, I didn't know that there was like 4 different cryptocurrency mining companies that are within the city, and they all, like, some of them work together, but like, I've never heard of a city that didn't have like some sort of business licensing. And like, just as a database thing, like, it would be nice to be able to give the future business association, like, a list of people that they could contact if they asked for it. Like, oh, we're looking at making a business association. We want to ask the people who own and operate businesses in Cascade Locks, who can I contact? Oh, we don't know.
The closest thing we have is our commercial utility accounts. I mean, we can look at it that way, but that's,
But
Not-
it doesn't
Yeah.
quite, like, you can run a business without necessarily triggering a commercial utility. Like, running a internet business out of your home is not necessarily enough
true.
to trigger a commercial utility, because you're not making more expenditure on the utility line, but
it could be something, maybe we look at another city who has some type of, program in place that we could get some ideas. So, but definitely,
Yeah.
we can talk further about it and.
oh yeah,
Hindsight.
I'm
Right.
formally asking to put it on a future agenda. I don't know, it doesn't have to be anytime soon, but like, we should talk about it in a work session maybe, or make an action item to create an ordinance.
Okay. Would you like to look into other cities, research that and see what cities have programs that would be effective?
I'm pretty sure we could look at literally any city. I mean, I have never heard of.
Do you
city-
want, I'm asking, if you want to
I,
research
I,
that.
I'm going to research it a
Okay.
little bit more, but
That'd be
it would
great.
be good to have more.
That would be great, if you could come up with some examples and maybe, some cities that have got it down in their system that they have. That would be good.
If you want help with that, let me know. I think
Okay.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I can do the city manager listserv email,
okay,
just similar size cities that
perfect,
really just use it for database collection, not a revenue source.
Yeah, and
okay,
it's like, right now, we don't want to promote the revenue. We can't make it revenue, and we don't really want to. But if the people in the future think that we need to, then there's at least a list out there.
right. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right, gosh, first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Got through 2023, now we're on to 2024. Thank you to staff as well. Jordan, really detailed report, appreciate that. Mountain Community College, thank you for them to come out and present. I like that they came out, it was an opportunity that maybe we could get some satellite programs out here, so, I thought that was really good that all 3 of them came out. Chief Logan, thank you so much, you and your team, your staff, everybody, we just couldn't do it without you. Appreciate all of you and your team so much, thank you. Congratulations to all the committee, new committee members, welcome aboard. Tess Melio, I appreciate her coming and answering questions. Jordan and I did make the small cities meeting, it was very small, it was very, very small, but it was still good. We showed up and we represented, and there was, 2 other people there? It wasn't very many.
Yeah.
But it was still positive, and so, good things came out of that. Thank you to Councilmember Pete I know he's traveling and it's pretty extensive to get through airports, and so really appreciate him taking the time and being able to jump on in Zoom. What else? And I just wanna, encourage everyone to, you know, be respectful towards one another and let's get through this. Everyone, we're all volunteers. None of us are getting paid. Everyone's, I believe, his heart is in the right place. We don't do this for the big bucks. I get asked all the time, oh gosh, how much does that pay, Mayor? I said, nothing. It doesn't, and neither does City Council. So, I just really wanna thank each and every one of you also for stepping up and serving your community, and I really, really appreciate it, and I know the constituents do as well. And then, Jordan, I'm sure we're set for any nasty weather that comes our way here in the next week or so. And, Happy New Year and see everybody at the meeting on Thursday if it comes through. All right, and we need to move to, we need a vote to adjourn? Motion. A motion, excuse me.
I motion to adjourn.
My second.
All right, discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilmember Crompton,
Aye.
Emmeline Baker, aye, Farrell, aye, Calvert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mayor Bell.
Aye. Passes and it's.
Happy New Year.